Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sam Rose. I work with Farm Generations Cooperative as a wholesale specialist. We're really excited to be here with you during the wholesale marketplace release. We've got a bunch of brand new stuff to share with you, and we're going to get right to it because part of the idea of all this software is to save time and recognize how valuable it is. So we'll hop to it. We're going to do some introductions in just a moment because I'm here with a few colleagues that you may or may not recognize, but you should know they're there to help you out. We're going to go over just kind of the differences between retail and wholesale customers. We're going to talk about some of the key features, including universal inventory that we've integrated into the new software release. We are going to talk about order flow and payments. Some of that takes place a bit different than what you might expect with retail sales. We're going to talk about fulfillment tools, some of the different features that are offered through the wholesale that help you integrate it with what you're doing via your normal marketplaces, CSA, retail, shop, etc. And then we're going to finish up with pricing and fees and definitely leave time for questions and answers. So we ask that folks who are attending, please remain on mute unless there's some question. And if you want, you can actually put it into the chat. And we have Kara here who's monitoring that, and we can attend to those when it's appropriate. If you want to, in the meantime, feel free to share your name, your location, and your farm. This is live, and we do have live closed captioning if you desire. And this is recording, so again, feel free to stay on mute with your video turned off if you prefer. We are the Farm Generations Cooperative. We are a farmer-owned entity. All of us here farm, we get it. This software was created from the get-go with farmers in mind, and the objective is to get farmers to do direct commerce with their customers. We take feedback all the time. We built everything in-house with farmer experiences, our own, but also surveys and feedback we've gotten from the community. And so we're continuously evolving the features. And when we get a critical mass of feedback that asks for a particular capability, you'll likely see it within a reasonable amount of time. I'm also here joined by my colleagues, Kara and Danny. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Kara. I work with Danny on support, and sometimes I work in sales a little bit. I use she, her pronouns. I live in New York, and I am no longer, I'm the person on our team who's like no longer a farmer, but I had about 10 years in diversified vegetable experience. So yeah, so I'm monitoring the chat today. Please chat me there.
Hey there, I'm Danny. I'm calling in from Central Vermont, where I live and farm. I have a sheep dairy. I'm a cheesemaker, and I'm the customer support specialist for GrownBy. I've been here for about a little bit over 2 years now, but have kind of a history in agricultural tech, and also in a variety of different farming operations. I worked on a number of CSAs, and used to work for the software platform Small Farm Central and Harvey as well. So that's me, and I'm always available to answer questions about the platform and to help you troubleshoot things that you need help with. So yeah, glad to be here with everyone.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, that's one thing that Farm Generation takes a lot of pride in, our customer support. And so if you work with us, you'll get to know Kara and Danny and their amazing capacity and patience to work through your whatever needs you have. And again, I'm Sam Rose. I'm one of the newer folks here at Farm Generations, but I've been farming in New York's Hudson Valley for the last 10 years, variety of capacities, small grains, running a community farm, now doing honey production. And that's a similar story to most of us here at Farm Generations. We're going to start with just some of the main features that kind of distinguishes it, the wholesale marketplace from the retail. And we'll get into each one of these more specifically. But one thing to note is the separation of farm shops. So using GrownBy, you can now have a retail shop where you would put your marketplace products, your CSA products. These are things that are open to the general public, whereas the wholesale is only select buyers. Only buyers of wholesale products have access. And that's a feature that many people requested because they want to have separate price lists and they want to make sure their retail customers don't get access to that. So we'll get more into that in a moment. The second thing that we wanted to highlight is the specific wholesale settings. The nature of wholesale commerce is different than retail. Things like terms, retail, you normally pay when you order. Wholesale, it's a different expectation. In addition, maybe you want to have minimum orders, meaning like you have to order a certain quantity for the order to go through. You don't want to dole out stuff piecemeal. You want it to be significant orders. We're getting back to this, but wholesale customers, there's exclusivity here. We want vetted wholesale buyers, not just retail folks trying to get a better price. And discoverability, that's a big part of this, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But now to delve in. So I just mentioned the shops here, you'll notice they look pretty similar, but there are some key differences. We have on the top left in purple, the GrownBy wholesale shop versus the green wholesale GrownBy retail shop. And they do look pretty similar, but there's some differences there. If you look closely, prices are a bit different. Maybe some products are being offered retail, like patties, whereas sides of beef are offered wholesale. So you can definitely distinguish between your two shops and make them as similar or different as you like. And we'll see just kind of an example of that. But pretty much everything you can distinguish between either retail, wholesale, or both, from your schedules to your products can be offered on either or both sites. And even your customers will get categorized as retail customers or wholesale customers. So in the end, this really helps you organize what types of orders are being placed, where things are going, logistics, etc., which we'll see in a little bit as well. But the main thing is keeping those sales channels separate. Wholesale settings. We mentioned that the expectation of wholesale buyers is often different. So you can go to your account and you can create terms. Retail sales are generally paid for when orders are placed, but wholesale buyers, a restaurant, for instance, they might place an order for a product from the farm, but they need to sell that product before they can pay you. That's at least the customary way of doing things. So you can set terms like 15, 30 days. There's fees associated with these purchases, and you can decide whether you want the buyer to absorb those fees automatically. You can give them the option, or you can just absorb those fees yourself. And then finally, you can also require a minimum purchase in order to check out their cart. So for instance, in this case, the person chose $150. Until they reach that $150 threshold, they cannot place an order. Those are for wholesale customers. You can do a completely different regime of requirements for retail. Wholesale only, again, we really want to distinguish wholesale customers from retail customers and give them, the appropriate experience and pricing. So the way we do this is we invite wholesale customers, and only once a customer gets an invitation to wholesale will they be able to view your wholesale farm shop or anybody else's wholesale farm shop. So you very easily, you choose whether it's a wholesale customer you're inviting or just a normal retail customer, and an email automatically goes out to that person, and they get invited, and then they get access to the wholesale shop. The general public gets access to retail. Anybody can find your farm on retail, but only invited wholesale buyers get invited or get access to the wholesale shop. And so this leads us to discoverability. So once a buyer has been invited to the GrownBy wholesale marketplace, now they get access to all the farms. And they can use different criteria to search for products, to compare by price, by certifications, by whether the delivery or pickup is required or shipping is available. So there's a bunch of filters they can use to find the products they're looking for. And just like any marketplace, just like your farmer's market, the more farms that are on the site, that attracts more buyers. And so the aim here is that buyers will see this platform as a place to get exactly what they're looking for under the terms that they're looking for. And we're really focused here on user experience. So I think one of the big things here is we want to eliminate the need for sending all different formats of Google Sheets with prices and having buyers, have to go through emails to find your farm or go through text messages. They now have a central platform where they can find multiple farms, where they get automated messaging, automated payment that we'll get into in just a little bit. But the main idea here is user experience. A pleasant, easy user experience is going to result in more sales and more orders and more sales. Another key feature that we wanted to highlight at the GrownBy wholesale marketplace is universal inventory. So one of the complaints that we've heard from folks in general, farmers especially, is just they're using different pieces of software for different sales channels. And what we're doing now is we're integrating these different capacities and these different sales channels into one product. And universal inventory is a big part of that. And what we mean by that is that you can actually have all these different sales channels. You can sell product, but the inventory comes from one central place. So for instance, if I'm creating a product, a tomato, I don't want to have one inventory of tomatoes for my farmer's market, one inventory of tomatoes for my CSA, and one for my wholesale accounts. I just want to have tomatoes. So I decide, for instance, in this case, I want to sell tomatoes per fruit. So my unit is each, and there's 400 tomatoes in stock, let's say. If I'm selling by the fruit, it would be one unit. And I don't really want to mess around with wholesale buyers buying a single tomato. So I only offer that on my retail shop. It will only appear now in my GrownBy retail shop. But if I'm selling by the crate, and in my case, we can fit 20 tomatoes in this crate, I'll offer it both retail and wholesale as well. If I'm selling them at $3, 20 tomatoes would be $60, but I want to incentivize my retail folks, and I'm going to offer it to them for $50. On the wholesale, I want to incentivize them even more, so I'll offer it to them at $45. And on top of that, I might even decide to go even further and offer 4 crates at a time. Again, that would now be, there's 20 per crate, so the total is 80 tomatoes. I don't think I want to mess around with retail for 4 crates. I just don't think they'd be interested, and I don't want to pass them that much savings either. I don't think it's useful. So I'll only have that in my wholesale catalog, that option will only appear in my wholesale shop. And I'm going to give them even a further reduction in price. I'm going to offer 4 crates at $160. I choose my schedule. I'm offering it at for delivery within a certain range that I pre-established. I'm also offering at a farmer's market. My farmer's market happens to be in Kingston, New York. I know there's a lot of restaurants there. They can come and pick up. I'll just set aside, a few crates or part of my truck or van. I'll have those orders ready to go. So restaurants or whatever institutions can come by the farmer's market and pick up their orders on those set days. And I should mention that relatively soon we'll also have point of sale software online. So you'll be able to do your wholesale, your CSA, your market sales, your online sales all in one place. And again, it will all be integrated. You'll be looking at everything on one single dashboard. The wholesale order flow, how orders are placed and fulfilled, is a bit different than retail. And so we just wanted to highlight that as well. In the wholesale shop, your customers arrive, your buyers. You might still be making phone calls. You might still be sending out emails. You might even still be sending out texts. But instead of having buyers go to a Google Sheet or, type in text orders, you're just directing them to your wholesale shop. They arrived at your wholesale shop, or perhaps they came upon it because they were just looking for a specific product and they discovered you, and they placed their order. Step 2 is an invoice still is not produced. This is just a draft. The draft gives you, as the farmer producer, the ability and the chance to modify that order. You can edit that order, you can reject that order altogether, or you can approve the order. Once the order is approved, the buyer receives notification. You can still edit, but at least the buyer knows that things are moving forward. An invoice is not produced until that order is fulfilled. So on the day that the order is fulfilled, an invoice will automatically be sent to the buyer. The buyer can also find all their pending and fulfilled orders on their account, on their GrownBy account. And finally, that invoice is sent and payments are actually processed automatically. So the nice thing about having your buyers have to create an account and be invited to the site and create that account upon registration so that they can get onto your wholesale shop. The nice thing about that is part of the requirement is they need to put in payment information. And once that payment information is in our system, that's how we can automatically process payments based on the pre-established terms. So you don't need to go chasing down your customers to remind them that a term limit is coming up or that a payment is due or even overdue. All those messages are automatically sent, and all online payment, be it credit card or ACH bank transfers, that's all processed automatically. Your buyers still do have the option to choose offline payments. They'll receive reminders, but they'll send you a check directly or cash directly, and you as the farmer producer will manually mark that invoice as paid. Because all of this is in one central dashboard, there's a lot of extra tools that help with fulfillment. Information is aggregated, and the system is pretty smart in that it consolidates all your different sales channels. So for instance, you have pick lists. If you set your window out 7 days, for instance, you can produce pick lists that will include not only your CSA, but also your wholesale orders, also your online market orders, and it will send a single list with all of those products so that you can take it into the field and harvest. You can also create a location summary, so you'll know when it gets back to the pack house which orders are going where. Like, so you can create pallets or boxes with different types of orders. For instance, maybe one section of your truck is for wholesale, one section of your truck is for your farmers market, and another section is for deliveries. We have sign-in sheets that can be produced as well that accumulate all those different types of orders, and they can either be printed so that whoever's doing deliveries can bring them and have the person receiving check off, or at CSA pickup, your customers can check off. It can also be, it can stay online and just be part of the app, so they can digitally fill out that sign-in sheet too, and just make sure that there's a record of everything that's been delivered to where. Our packing sheets, again, every single box that you pack will now have a sheet, so there's no confusion, there's no mixing up orders. And then finally, and this is a relatively new feature, but the labels. You can create all different size labels and print them with whatever you want. A normal printer, a thermal printer, get them printed elsewhere, but they'll have all the pertinent information, where the location is, what date it's being delivered, who's getting it, what that particular container has inside of it. So again, this helps with alleviating any confusion, making sure things get where they need to go, but also traceability if you ever talk to a customer down the supply chain. Pricing and fees. We are a farmer-owned cooperative, and we do our best to make things as efficient, easy, and economical for the farmers that are using our products as possible. There are some fees that are inevitable, and there are some fees that just help us keep the lights on. There is for all online payments with a credit card, there is a standard 2.9% plus 30-cent fee. For ACH bank transfers, there is a 1% fee, but that only goes up to $5. So the most anyone would ever pay for a bank transfer is $5. There is a 2% Farm Generations Co-op transaction fee. This is what Farm Generations actually retains. And again, this helps us keep the lights on, all that. But this, by the way, you can choose, as we mentioned before, that this be included in the final price. You can choose that it's a optional thing that the customers can take care of. You know, with retail, we often, this is just an aside, but with retail, we often find that customers want to cover that transaction fee. They want to support the farmer. In wholesale, it's not always like that. Sometimes, you know, everybody's just trying to make a living. And so you can decide whether you want to absorb that fee, or you want to make it optional, or you want the customer to pay for it. It's up to you. There is a $50 per month subscription fee to this service, but there is a package fee where if you pay annually, it's only $45 a month. The first month is always free. Give the wholesale marketplace a whirl, see if you like it, see if the features suit your needs, and then you can decide whether you want to continue or not. And I should say, as a co-op, we accept new members. You can become a farmer member. Down the line, you can actually receive dividends from that, but what it also earns you as a member is a discount on those subscription fees. That is the new wholesale marketplace in a nutshell. We wanted to keep the basic description rather brief so we could receive questions from you guys, but also we wanted to leave space at future webinars, because we'll be interviewing and having open discussions with farmers who are already using the platform, and hear their feedback and what's worked for them, and ask them questions as well. So Kara, would you like to manage this part of the webinar, the Q&A?
Sure. Danny just put a list of support articles about wholesale in the chat. And we can answer any questions you have. You have had some questions come in over the in the in-call messages, usually called a chat in most platforms, about printing invoices, what it's available for. But are there other questions here, or things or comments or moments of clarification that you all want?
One thing I didn't get into, but I just wanted to also highlight as part of kind of the ethos of Farm Generations is, and I mean, we're able to do this as a co-op. You know, we don't have venture capital behind us, so we're not like pressured, you know, to give dividends back to investors like within the year or anything like that. We can kind of take our time with this, and I think that's reflected in how much the software has evolved in such a short period of time. We take feedback really seriously. We don't just subcontract engineers, have them produce something, say goodbye, and just let the thing get stale online. This product, but also the versions of it to come are all based on farmer feedback, and we take that feedback really seriously. We're available to hear you and integrate it, but also we're here to make it better. So part of my job is actually going out there and, you know, approaching different institutions, different buyers, schools, for instance. That's a big push we're making right now. We're trying to open up these markets, and a lot of times there's farms that want to sell to a particular type of institution. There's certain groups or institutions that want to make these wholesale purchases, but like, let's be real, getting those groups together is sometimes difficult logistically. It's just the schedules or the way they work just doesn't completely align. And so that's where this marketplace will hopefully come in and help connect those groups. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we are, and we will continue to be, creating those links, looking for those avenues of getting local food to these local institutions. We're nationwide, but like, obviously it's the local connections that make this thing work.
We have been a platform that has had like really served CSAs and retail, like pre-orders, customizable CSAs. We've really worked within that sphere for a long time, or, you know, for our whole existence. And this wholesale feature set, I think, works for small wholesale too. And I think for larger wholesale operations. And we have kind of designed it with considering both needs. So that's just, I think, useful to know if you think, oh, you know, this is only for small farms or this is only for big farms. I think it works well for all scales.
And I think I would encourage folks, you know, if you're not sure, like, reach out to us and ask for a demo. We're happy to walk through how this system works, help you decide if it applies to your farm. And sometimes it doesn't, and we're not afraid to admit that. Like, we're happy to tell you, like, you know what, maybe this isn't for you. But I mean, it is a very flexible, accommodating system. It generally helps folks save time, save money, save labor, and overall give a much, much more pleasant experience to their customers. And that just helps them grow their customer base, get those repeat customers, open up different market channels. I do want to mention that we have a few more webinars coming up. So they are both at 12:30 in the afternoon. One is on October 14th, one's at October 28th, and they're focused on testimonies from different farms that have been using the wholesale platform for a little while now. They started in the beta version, and now, you know, it's open to the public, so everybody can get on. But they've been finding a lot of success, and perhaps some of the lessons and experiences they've had will be applicable to you guys out there, and can help you decide whether it's something that might be suitable for your situation. We have on October 14th, Gorgeous Goat Creamery. Where are they out of again, Kara?
They're in New Jersey.
New Jersey. And Park Ridge Organics.
Who's here on this call right now.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
James asks, would you say there's a minimum scale of production that makes sense for this product? Or a number of wholesale accounts? You could have one wholesale account and I think it could still streamline things. I think in terms of, is there a minimum scale? I think it's just about that monthly fee, right? So there's is it $540 a year? So I think you know, what is it? How much do you need to make that be appropriate for your business?
Right. That exactly. And by the way, you can pause your subscription during the off season. That is allowed. You know, there's some features obviously that you won't have access to at your shop anymore because you're not paying for it. But you can turn it back on when things get rolling again. And yeah, but like you said, Kara, that's your overhead, right? You have to meet your overhead, and then you start earning the profit after that. And in this case, it's that monthly fee. So a lot of farmers also saying, you know, this is a brand new platform. I'm very interested in discoverability. That will come as the ball gets rolling, right? Like it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing here. You know, we need the farmers to get the buyers. We need the buyers to attract the farmers. We're actively soliciting both those groups. But for the time being, you know, if you already have wholesale buyers, you just want to make administration of those accounts much easier, saving you time and money. You should invite them on. You know, if you have a farmer's market that you're already attending in an area where there might be some wholesale buyers around, you know, list your stuff and have it available for pickup at those particular sites. You're going there anyway. You're bringing the van there anyway. You could always bring an extra cooler or boxes of product anyway. And then, yeah, it's like a phone call or a text or whatever. Enough. Kara, Danny, do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Just an invitation to reach out to us to ask more questions and talk. I'm seeing this question about bookkeeping software. Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't have a direct integration with any bookkeeping softwares, but we have really good exports that are primarily through the invoices section of the farmer dashboard. And so those exports can be either filtered with each invoice on one row or each item in an invoice on a row. And in all cases, really, we've found that we can help farmers to get the data from GrownBy that they need to go into a bookkeeping software. So yeah, that'll be a little bit specific to your situation. Happy to talk with you more about what your accounting needs are.
Because we see so many people do it in such different ways that sort of manipulating those exports has really been what has worked well for the largest variety of people.
Right.
Farms.
And from what I've heard, you know, I think in the past you could have said like, oh, well, we'll just integrate it into QuickBooks and like we're good. But, you know, there's definitely a change in who we see using QuickBooks due to other software being available, due to, you know, the price of QuickBooks has gone up quite a bit, especially since it's practically all online now. So it's surprising, but like if you were to customize GrownBy to one specific accounting software, you would kind of eliminate the ability to use other ones. So in this case, yeah, like Danny said, you have the ability to, you know, download the data in a CSV file and then upload it in whatever way you like to your accounting software, and that's completely customizable.
And I think that Park Ridge Organics in their webinar will maybe talk a little bit about some of the ways they've kept records using GrownBy Wholesale that have worked for their farm.
Well, great. If there is nothing else, then I guess we'll conclude this webinar. We really appreciate your time. We look forward to speaking with you in the future, and we wish everyone a happy and successful rest of the farming season. Have a great day.